awesome.
All right. So I've hit record. So whenever you're ready to do that thing, go ahead and take one.
Hey, this is Dirk Van Rieden, and you are listening to Jeff Smith on Vroom Vroom Veer. Let's get it.
Very good, sir. Thank you very much. You didn't screw up, though, so I'm kind of upset.
Was that supposed to screw up?
That's okay. No, not really. But sometimes, it's funnier that way, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's perfect. As long as there's me talking at the end, then it sounds like an outtake. See, that's how it works. Okay, I'm going to hit stop. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Jacob Bustos, thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer and welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hello, Mr. Jeff. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I almost feel like I'm sitting in your living room having some coffee right now.
You are having coffee. I'm drinking water. I'm pre-caffeinated.
Well, that's right, because I cannot live without coffee, and I probably drink way too much of it.
There's nothing wrong with that, dude. That's okay. I'm going to give you a pass.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
If that's something you want to work on, that's on you. There's no judgment on this show.
Yes. I'm on the right show then. That's what that means.
There you go. Okay. So you are at portionyourplate.com. I like that, by the way. It's a good URL. Well, it's a good business name. It's a good book name. So congrats on that. So talk a little bit about what you're most excited over there at your business.
Awesome. Right. So the first one is portionyourplate.com. The second one is actually my name, jacobustos.com. And recently I just added a couple of links, whenfoodisyourfrenemy.com or whenfoodisyourfrenemy.us. So I wrote a book. Book came out just about maybe a little over a month ago.
Nice.
And so upon its release, I kind of added those other websites. So it's pretty easy to find me. Number one, you can find my book on the website. You can click on the link and site. And also, there's another section where you can buy a couple of products on there. One of them being, it's from a company called Live Liga, and it's portion control plates and
nice.
Dinnerware, flatware, drinkware, so all the good stuff. You can find a couple things on there.
Portion control plates. Wow, that's fun.
Portion control plates. I know. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. So they're just really tiny.
They're not. They're actually beautiful plates.
Okay.
They have really beautiful designs on them, and through the designs, you can actually see how much food you should be eating at your different meal times. So it's great. Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Very nice. Okay, so thanks for all of that. Appreciate it. So this is Vroom Vroom Veer. That means we have to go back in time and talk about what you were like as a youngster and sort of tiptoe through the fun stories of your life.
Well, I would say that I was an awesome kid and I was an awesome young adult.
There you go. You were awesome at college.
I was awesome at everything. And my mother would say the same.
Everything is awesome.
That's right. Honestly, I was just a normal kid. And I guess the only thing different about me was that I was a husky kid. But I was always just a happy-go-lucky kid, nothing out of the ordinary, had a great childhood.
Okay.
Come from a great family. I grew up in a small town called Las Vegas, New Mexico. So it's the original. Yeah, I'm telling you, the original Las Vegas. And it's just about 60 miles north of Santa Fe in New Mexico.
Okay.
So beautiful little town.
So that's the original Las Vegas. Somebody stole the name, basically.
It's the original, and I'm not going to say which Las Vegas stole the name, but they did. I got to say it.
I think I can figure it out.
Yeah, there you go. All we need are some gambling machines and some card tables in the original Las Vegas, and we'll have a contest going there.
There you go. So how big a town is the original Las Vegas?
The original? Well, that's kind of the sad news is when I was growing up there, it was, I think we had like 18,000 people, and now I think they're down to like 13 or 14,000 people. So it's a town that's kind of,
it's a small town.
they're vrooming in a different direction, I guess is what I would say, or
Gotcha.
veering in a different
Maybe
direction.
they're veering, maybe they're vrooming. We're not sure. That's
Yeah.
that's happening. You know, I noticed. I just got back from a trip visiting my parents in rural Michigan, Upper Michigan,
Right.
and the population sign has declined on both the Wisconsin side of the river and the Michigan side of the river. So,
Wow.
yeah, I think when I was growing up, both signs were in the 12,000 zone, and now they're just over 10.
Wow. You know what? I think people are just moving to the bigger cities and they're finding
more
out that,
opportunity, right?
yeah, just more opportunity for sure. But I was just a normal person growing up in a small town in northern New Mexico. Upon graduating high school, I moved to Albuquerque, so the big city.
Nice. Yeah.
And I was there for, Albuquerque is a nice place. Just went to the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta a couple weeks ago. But, you know, I just was a normal person, nothing out of the ordinary. I never in my life thought I would even write a book.
Right.
I was just in business. I've always been in the restaurant business. I just completed my 26th year in the restaurant business. So
wow.
Yeah, no kidding. So stayed there. That was crazy. So stayed in Albuquerque probably till I was 23 years old.
Okay.
And then had an amazing opportunity to move to San Diego.
Right.
And so no one likes San Diego, right? But anyhow,
nobody likes San Diego. It's awful.
Nobody. And so I moved to San Diego.
Oh my goodness, what can you...
I know it's perfect. Like 71 is cold, 72 is perfect. And so I moved to San Diego and stayed there for about 4.5, 5 years, and then moved to LA. So in LA, here I am.
I lived in LA for a long time. So what part of LA are you in again?
North of the city in Valencia.
Okay. So are you familiar with the South Bay area?
I'm familiar with the South Bay. I'm familiar with the North Bay. I'm familiar with the
whole
Bay
area.
Yeah. No kidding. I have a great joke. Why don't the seagulls fly over the bay?
I don't know. Why don't?
Because they would be called bagels. There you go. So that's your joke, since you said you were from the Bay.
Well, I lived in the South Bay. I like that. That's good. Don't fly over this. That's good. Seagull, bagel. I like it. That's good.
Which part of LA did you grow up?
I did not grow up there. I grew up in Michigan, but it's a long story. So my life went all the way up until 18. I'm in Menominee, Michigan. That's 50 miles north of Green Bay, Wisconsin, in beautiful Upper Peninsula, Michigan. But that is like frozen tundra, right? So it didn't take a whole lot to want to leave,
right?
I'll say. So yeah, I joined the Air Force when I was 18, and that's where I was in various locations until I landed. My last Air Force duty station was Los Angeles Air Force Base in El Segundo. Fun. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. I know exactly where that's at. I'm not too far from there.
Yeah. There you go. See, so, yeah. And then I kind of got stuck there, kind of wanting to leave and kind of wanting to stay. So in 2017, we moved to Vegas to avoid all the extra bills that go along with having a beach very close to you.
I know. You know what? It's LA is one of those places where it's you love it and you hate it. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
Every
place you go when you live in Los Angeles area is like, why did I leave? Because you get back and it's better.
Exactly. You know what? I feel like God has a plan for every one of us, and this is where I'm supposed to be now. So it's been good. I really enjoy being up here.
Yeah, LA's great. I mean, it's fun. It's just expensive. So we go back a lot, you know. So
yeah.
And now I'm sort of like, it's like I moved to the Inland Empire, but I just kept going.
Well, it's not that far. If you leave very early in the morning, you can make it from LA to Vegas in like 4.5 hours. Right. So you're not that far.
I'm not that far. No, not at all. It's
that's right.
We're LA close. So
exactly.
Okay.
We all from LA end up in Vegas on the weekends anyway. So you're fine. You're still in LA.
Exactly.
Really.
Yes. Basically, we're in like LA East.
Exactly.
If that's the way, maybe LA North. I don't know. Easty, Northy. Okay.
Hey, well, we're gonna have a football team there soon, so it really is an extension of LA.
You're right. Yeah, and it's a former LA team.
Well, not so much LA. We don't claim them down here, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and take it.
They were there for a little while.
I know.
I know,
but you know what?
Like a year or two. Yeah.
Yeah, not that long. We're fine to go and visit Vegas and take in a football game every now and then.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that because, eventually the Packers will play the Raiders. I'm a Packer fan. So eventually the Packers will play the Raiders in Las Vegas, and I can try to get tickets and go. So,
hey, there you go.
there you go. It's funny.
I love it.
I've only been to one, no kidding, Packer game in my life. I've been to a couple of preseason games while I was overseas. And then I went to a no kidding game in Phoenix when the Packers played, the Cardinals. Right. So that was neat.
Wow.
I never
cool.
went to a game in Lambeau because I was gone. I've been gone my whole life. So.
Well, there you go. Now you have plenty of time. Life is all about having some fun stuff to do, and
maybe I'll have to put that on my retirement bucket list. See a game in Lambeau. Yeah,
you're still too young to retire, so it's gonna. You just do it before. You just do it whenever you have a chance. That's what I learned.
There you go. So okay, let's back up and get some fun stories. Like we breezed through that life story. So we don't want to end the show now.
Oh no. We're just. How can we end it when we're just starting? That's right.
Just starting. Okay. So let me see here. So, did you go to college at all or not?
So I started going to school, and I did not finish. Unfortunately, that's one of my I would say one of my biggest regrets. Although everybody that I talk to now says, "Hey, don't worry about it. You have no student loan debt, so you're good. Don't worry."
Right. Yeah.
And so I guess I would just say, yes, I started it, but I didn't finish.
Nothing wrong with that. Where did you start? Somewhere in
Las Vegas, New Mexico, at Highlands University. And then, believe it or not, I worked in fast food, and I went to Hamburger University with McDonald's.
Wow!
I know.
That sounds neat.
What? It's pretty cool. I have to tell you, it still gets a rise out of people when they ask where what if I have any sort of formal education, which it's semi-formal, but I always say I have a bachelor's in hamburgerology, which is true. And so it's the funniest thing to see the people's reactions, because they just didn't, people have heard of Hamburger University, but they don't realize that, hey, there's an actual Hamburger University.
It's an amazing business system, McDonald's.
It's incredible. I think it's very underestimated for sure.
And they just pulled off a rabbit trick on an epic scale, right? I don't know how long ago, but I just heard on like a business thing where they switched from frozen beef to like all fresh.
Wow, they tried. I don't know how successful that is, but
really? Okay. See, now you're giving me insider information. Okay.
Here's the thing, Jeff. People can knock it all they want. I mean, there's all the negative stuff that comes along with the fast food chains, but you can't knock them because they're the biggest. They're the biggest for a reason.
Well, whenever anybody wants to knock them, I just say, fine, make something that's better and beat them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I obviously I obviously had weight issues, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote a book. But but those were some of the greatest times of my life. I had some nice times working there, and did very well. And so I don't knock them. I don't knock them at all.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We definitely want to get into that whole weight loss journey story because it's fascinating to me. Especially the part about the surgery and almost losing your life. So,
sure,
we'll get there, but I don't know if we're there yet. So you let me know. I'm going to let you be. You're sort of like an executive producer / real producer, whatever you want to call it. So you decide, when it feels natural to get into that story. Let's do it. Right
into the meat and potatoes, so to speak.
The French fries and the burgers.
That's right. That's right. We'll stick with meat and potatoes for sure.
Meat and potatoes. Okay. So this is fascinating. So when did you? I know that you ended up working for. You're still working for Panera, right?
I am. I am the executive director of operations for Panera Bread Cafes in Los Angeles, Orange County, South LA area.
Right.
But I worked in fast food. I guess if I back up a little bit, I did fast food coming out. I started when I was like 15 years old. So,
right.
I guess I could have almost been born at like a French fry station, but started when I was 15 years old, and I worked in fast food till I was 23 years old.
Right.
And funny enough, the franchise owner that I worked for at the McDonald's restaurants in Albuquerque, he ended up becoming the franchisee of the Panera Bread cafes in San Diego, and so I came along with him.
Right. Okay.
And so the coolest part is I've actually worked for the guy for 25 years now that I've worked for the same guy. So it's pretty
Holy
cool.
cow.
Yeah.
So obviously you get along.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
The funniest part is if you see my picture, because a lot of people go to my website and they see my picture and they're like, but you don't look like you're that old. Because I'll tell people I've been in the restaurant business 25 years, and they'll look at me and they'll say, well, how old were you? Like 2 when you started? But I'm 42, and I just, everybody says I don't look it, which is greght.
Right.
I tend to tell people I'm 75 and I just look good for my age.
That's good. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. But no, I've been, so I started with McDonald's, did fast food for a long time, and then went over to fast casual.
Right.
And really it's, that's where I've been. I've only really had two jobs in my whole life, which is great.
That's amazing. Right.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Wow. So, okay. So let's go ahead and dive in on this whole, like, when did your decision to like do something pretty drastic about your weight, and you just talk a little bit about that arc of your life, because you're still in it, obviously, right? So just let's kick it off. When did it start? Where were you? How did that all play out?
Well, I become very long-winded here, so I hope you.
No, I like long-winded. If you don't talk, there's no show.
Well, let me kind of go backwards a little bit. So of course, as I said before, my mom kind of sometimes described me as the husky one in school. I was always a little bit chunkier,
right?
But I never had like a weight problem. And even into my teenage years, I didn't really have a huge weight problem.
Okay.
Probably in my 20s, 24, 25, 26, the weight kind of started coming on.
Okay.
And I was, I was probably weighing 220. And then before I know it, I was at, 250. And then all of a sudden I get into my 30s and I'm all of a sudden at 310.
Right.
And so over time I had tried losing weight. Trust me. I mean, and I know people say this all the time and it's just not believable, but the reality is I did try losing weight many times. And, in my, probably at 31, 32 years old, I went and I saw my doctor and he said, gosh, you're in trouble, man. You have cholesterol issues, you have diabetes, you have, you're a mess. You're not doing good at 30 years old.
Now, where are you now? Where is this doctor? Is this in San Diego or is this in?
No, this doctor was here in LA, which was good because I didn't have to go very far. But so I saw my doctor. He said, "You're not doing good. You've got to lose some weight." At that point, I was like 320 pounds.
Okay.
And so I said, "Well, can I be considered for weight loss surgery?" And the doctor that I saw, great doctor, but just said, "No, you need to lose it the traditional way."
Okay.
And so I did. I tried for a couple of years, and then I got to about 33 years old, and I was still just very heavy.
Not working, right? The traditional weight loss method not working.
It was not working. And I have some theories about that I do write about in my book, but that's, I'll go into that a little bit later. But
yeah, sure.
I went to through work, we changed insurances and went to Kaiser, and I found an amazing doctor at Kaiser who wanted me to try losing weight the traditional way, but then actually agreed to let me do bariatric surgery if I would go through the psychiatric evaluation and if I was to attend 13 weeks of classes, just to really see if I was a good candidate, if I was prepared for whatever I was going to take on.
Okay.
And so I'm very, very thankful to him that I did that, and I went through the entire process, and I got approved to bariatric surgery. So here I am, Jeff.
So was that like a screening?
Yeah, there's a pretty large screening process. I mean, you've got to go through some classes that really teach you how to re-eat and rethink about food.
Okay.
And not only that, but if people go through bariatric surgery, they have to change their habits. And if you don't, you're in trouble. I mean, you can gain all your weight back. You just, there's a lot of things that can happen.
Right.
And as part of that, there's a big piece, which is the psychiatric evaluation. I mean, it's mentally, I think that's where a lot of the preparedness has to begin, is really mentally before it goes anywhere else.
Right.
And so I went through that process, and I was 30, gosh, at that point I was 34 or 35 years old. And then, and I scheduled my procedure, went in, had gastric bypass, and, life was good. I can't even begin to describe I got out of the hospital, and within the first 30 days,
Yes.
I lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, 50 pounds. It's a lot. And it really just fell off.
Let's drill down into that. Like,
Okay.
so I know, because I had another friend that had a similar procedure. I'm not sure which procedure he had, but he went through just what you went through. And he was telling me that you have to really relearn how to eat. And you have to like alcohol is a lot more thorny if you want to go there. Right. Right. So get into some of that, like how easy / hard / big deal is it dealing with the post, right?
That's a great question. I get that question a lot. And that's because, people are afraid to change their habits, or they're afraid to look at their food and say, gosh, you know what? I come from a large Hispanic family, and tortillas and enchiladas, we love them.
Right.
And so part of the scary part about going through this procedure is thinking, will I never be able to have those things again? Or will I never be able to enjoy what I really enjoy?
Right.
And the truth is that at some point you can start to introduce those kinds of foods back into your diet, as long as it's just a little bit.
Okay.
So I went through my procedure, no problem. My doctor said, hey, you're never going to be able to eat rice again. And I thought, thank the Lord, I never liked rice to begin with, so I'm good.
Wow.
But
that's a big
truthfully,
thing. Whoa, okay.
it is. It's a huge thing. But truthfully, I did just fine. I mean, I ate or drank, I should say, chicken broth for about 30 days.
Okay.
Which is another reason why the weight just fell off.
Right. So that's your diet. That's your complete diet for 30 days.
It was really like a liquid diet for the first couple weeks for sure.
Oh, that's hard.
And you know what though? It isn't. It really wasn't for me because
okay.
I mean, your stomach is shrunk to the size of an egg.
Okay.
And so even, if I would take 2 drinks or 2 sips of chicken broth, I felt full. So I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was missing anything. And alcohol is the biggest thing that some people just don't want to give up. And being that your stomach is the size of an egg, you can imagine you drink alcohol. And if you do, you absorb that into your bloodstream much quicker, and you can get drunk on like 2 tablespoons of alcohol. So,
wow.
So it's definitely not a good thing to do if you have had bariatric surgery.
Interesting.
But just, honestly, Jeff, I mean, over the 2 years after I had my surgery, in total, I lost 160 pounds.
Holy
so I weighed 320. I lost 160. So I weighed 160.
Okay. Wow.
So my friend said, you are exactly half the man you used to be.
Exactly. Mathematically half. Yes.
That, and they used to like to go out to lunch or dinner with me because they'd get to eat half my meal. So they always liked going to meet up with me for lunch or dinner. But you know what? Life was great, Jeff. I cannot tell you. It was great. My self-confidence and self-esteem was through the roof.
And all those health issues, they sort of like fade.
I kid you not, within 30 days, the diabetes was gone. My cholesterol numbers were back to normal. Every health concern that I had prior to having bariatric surgery, completely gone.
Okay. And now how long did it take you, and was it difficult for you to adjust to the new way of eating, or was it just not so bad?
I don't know. That's a hard question for me, only because if you talk to somebody else that has had the same surgery that I did, everybody's a little bit different. Some people find it very difficult to adapt to a new eating habits. Some people don't. I think what I struggle with now is that there's times that I like to eat sweets, or I like to drink my coffee with cream and sugar, and it hurts your stomach if you do too much of that. And so yeah, I think for everybody it's different. At the very beginning, I had no problem with my portion control. I had no problem with eating small amounts of food.
Okay. And
so for me, it was easy, but I have to always, throw the caveat that it's not easy for everybody. So, it wasn't that bad. Truthfully, it saved my life, and it really was a pretty easy process for me.
Interesting. Well, good for you. I mean, I think that screening that you talked about, that is like the 13 weeks or whatever it was of psychiatric evaluation, if you want to call it, or education. That should be a necessary part, I think, because you can definitely, I've heard stories about people that, what do they call it? Like eat through it, right? And
Right.
yeah.
They do.
Yeah. And then it's like as if it didn't happen, right?
That's right. Well, here's the reality of what happens to heavy people, right? I mean, I'm going to tell you something that I think it's sensitive, but sugar
okay.
is a drug. Sugar
It
is a
is.
drug.
I agree.
And it's in this country there are 30 million children who are suffering from diabetes.
Wow.
And
Children.
that is
Wow.
children. And that is only because we don't know exactly how many there are, because there's some kids that have never been tested for it.
Of course.
Or diagnosed.
So those are the ones that we know about. So we know that number is too low.
Yep, that number we know for sure, but we know that there's more because there's undetected diabetes in kids out there. And then sugar is a drug. It's just as bad as cocaine, and it's just as bad as other bad stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and
damaging. Yes.
Yeah, and when somebody doesn't care about themselves or love themselves, I mean, I got to a point really where some people say, well, how did you decide to do this? And part of it was health, of course, but the other part of it was social. I walked into one of my restaurants one day and I saw my reflection in the glass door.
Yeah.
And that was a point in my life where I just couldn't believe what I had allowed myself to look like.
Right.
And the second one, Jeff, which is a little bit more sensitive, was we had a investor in our Panera group. And he's no longer an investor, but he and his wife were coming to visit the restaurants. And I offered him and his wife breakfast, and he declined. And me being a hospitable guy, I came back about 30 minutes later and I said, hey, are you sure I can't get you breakfast? And, and I was met with, hey, I don't want to look like you someday.
Oof.
And so, I think, not only for the health aspect did I do it, but I also did it for, the business aspect and the social aspect, because the reality is, if you're heavy in America, and by the way, we are the fattest country out there, but
right.
It's not an easy place to be in the workplace. It's not an easy place to be if you are in executive management or professional. It's just a hard place to be.
You're getting a lot of that sort of like passive aggressive judgment on you a lot, right?
Yes, you are.
I get it. Yes. Oh, I can back up, and I want to comment on a couple of things that we just talked about.
Right.
So, I remember when I sort of like started waking up to the fact that, sugar's everywhere and it's addictive and really damaging, right?
It is.
And not healthy. Okay. So, and then I think one of my aha veery moments, right, with sugar was my relationship with ketchup.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you can relate, right? And I think a lot of people can relate. Sure. So I remember from like high school, right?
Right.
Me and like 2 or 3 friends would buy as many French fries at Burger King or insert, fast food place here, and just dump all of the fries onto a tray. And then just get bottles and bottles of ketchup and just tear into that. And we were really using the French fries as ketchup delivery systems, if you get my meaning. We were there for the ketchup. and we had no idea why. We just thought we liked ketchup. But it was really like the best form of sugar ever, right? Because it's hiding. Right? It doesn't really even taste sweet. It does now. I'll amend this now, that if I have like the really like Heinz packet of ketchup now,
right,
I know it's sweet. But back then when I was addicted, it didn't taste sugary to me.
Sure.
Right. So that was sort of like, as I'm going through that calibration of where is sugar and why is it everywhere? And what can I eat that doesn't have sugar in it? It's nearly, if you go to like, a lot of places and you try to find something without sugar.
It's everywhere.
It's really, really difficult. It's like, okay, I'll have that salad, but I can't have the dressing.
Yeah. Take the dressing out. Well, I was in, I just got back from Africa about a month ago. Okay. And I went out there on a mission trip, and I went and spent a couple of days at an orphanage. And so got to cook for them, which was great. And, I made a couple of Western things for them that we make here in the United States, and they loved it, of course, but they thought it was very sweet.
Right. Right.
And so we put sugar in everything in our food here in America. And it's pretty crazy. I mean, I think my goal is I want to be the biggest, loudest voice when it comes to the diet in
Education.
America.
Yeah,
Our diets are just poor. It's pretty sad.
it's the sad diet. The standard American diet is sad.
That's right. That's right. I like that you did that. That's good. I may have to steal that.
It's out there. I stole it already. To me, it's
okay.
public domain. So feel free.
Hey, I will still shamelessly, but you know what? Honestly, like I said, I went through my bariatric procedure. I lost, within 2 years, 160 pounds, and I was living life, Jeff. I had no problems. And I think there's a little bit of vanity in every single one of us. I'm in LA where everyone's beautiful.
Right.
But the reality is everybody that I have ever met that's famous or that has, that we on the outside think are perfect. Everyone still has image issues. Everybody. I don't care how gorgeous you are. I don't care how rich you are. It doesn't matter.
It's accentuated in LA.
It is.
Because and you're not allowed to, like, if you're somebody on any old list, it doesn't matter what list. It could be A list, B list, C list, Z list. It doesn't matter. If your image is supposed to be, chiseled chin, and you have a little bit of flab, oh, you're out. You've just dropped off all the lists.
Yeah, and I had the excess skin hanging over, which was not pleasant.
Right.
And I looked fine when I had my clothes on. I looked great. I didn't. Sure. I looked like I had lost 160 pounds. A healthy guy, but I did have the excess skin hanging over. And so at that point, I kind of decided to go and see a plastic surgeon about having the excess skin removed.
Okay.
So again, here's the part of the story where I always say, look, I mean, call it vanity, call it whatever you want. But the reality is there's people out there that have lost more weight than me that have the excess skin hanging beneath their pubic bone. And that becomes more of a health issue.
It's another health issue.
Yeah, and it really is something that needs to be taken care of. And for me, luckily, it wasn't hanging that bad, but it was still bad enough that I wanted to get it removed.
Right.
And going into that, that's really kind of why I decided to write a book. And it was really, things were just different. Something was off. It didn't feel right. However, I kept going forward. I made a will before I had this second surgery, Jeff, which was something that I never in my life even thought about doing.
Right. Okay.
My brother came to help take care of me, which was always also kind of strict. And so I made my appointment. I saw my doctor. I scheduled a day that I was going to go have the excess skin removed, which is really kind of.
Is this just all at once, or is this like a series?
Yeah,
of surgeries?
No, it's just all at once. They literally cut you right down the middle. They gut you like a fish, and they cut all the excess skin off. It's a pretty dramatic surgery. I mean, I think
you're on the table a really long time.
Oh yeah. It's pretty intense. And I think there's a picture in my book about, my after, but, I went in at 6 a.m. My surgery was to start at 7. I should have been done by noon. And by 5 p.m. they were still kind of having a hard time waking me up.
Whoa.
So I really should have been out of recovery at noon and on my way home. And I wasn't. And so probably at 5 p.m. I got sent home. At 9 p.m. my brother walks up to the couch where I was laying down and says, "Hey, you got a lot of blood coming out and your bandages are soaked."
Yikes.
And so he called the doctor. The doctor said, "Well, there's some bleeding that's normal. There's a drain tube. It's pretty normal that there's bleeding."
Okay.
And so he says, "Just keep an eye on it. If it continues, call me back."
All right.
So around 10 o'clock, an hour later, we're putting bath towels because it's so much blood.
Yikes.
And so they throw me in the car. Here we go off to the nearest hospital. And I was probably about a minute away from dying is what the doctor told me.
Wow. From blood loss, basically.
Yeah, from blood loss. It was just, It was crazy. It was a crazy, I don't know how it all just didn't work out.
Right.
But I got into the emergency room. They put me in a room and
started pumping some blood in you.
Yeah, I hear doctors and nurses calling for an OR and calling for blood. They're going to have to give me some transfusions.
Right.
And then a few minutes later, my brother stooped over me and started praying for me. And then last thing I know is I was out of my own body. And believe it or not, I did see my aunt and my grandmother who had both previously passed away.
Okay.
And they were both waiting for me at the door.
Okay.
And so, at this point of my whole story is where I kind of just, I don't share everything that I went through at that point, but I do share some of it.
Sure.
And I was in the arms of my maker. And so people I've had skeptics all over say, well, are you sure? And how do you know? And are you sure you weren't just delusional? And are you sure it wasn't the medications?
Who knows? That's what I would say. Who knows? You're just saying what you experienced.
Yeah. And it was my experience. And,
Right.
and I had some very, very personal and private moments with my maker. And I had some, I had a choice whether I wanted to come back or not.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And I chose to come back. And, but through all that, I really learned what my mission is on earth, and that's to feed people, which is oddly enough, feeding people or feeding myself is what got me into the position that I was in.
Right.
But I know that that's my job on earth, is to feed people. And so my goal is really, I'll feed you. I just want to do it a little bit healthier.
Right.
And so, all said and done, after that whole thing, like I said, there's things that happened during that time that I will never share with anyone.
Right. That's probably appropriate.
Yeah, it's very appropriate. But
right.
You know what? I came back and here I am, and in spreading my message, that's why I wrote a book. I kind of thought about it, and when my sister-in-law actually helped me with the title, and it's When Food Is Your Frenemy, and really, food has been my best friend, and at times it's been my biggest enemy. And there's
Sure.
nothing different for me than millions of Americans out there who are struggling with their diets and with food. I still struggle with food now. Even though I am 160 pounds lighter, there are still days that I look at those M&Ms and I'm just like, oh, I want to eat the entire bag.
Right.
Right. But I also know that if I do that, I can regain this weight back. So
right.
At the end of my journey, at the end of my time on this earth, Jeff, I just want people to know that I cared enough to share the message with, look, here's what I did and here's how it helped me. What I went through somewhat wasn't pleasant, but for the most part, it got me to a place where I'm 160 pounds lighter.
Right.
But I got to tell you, I think people in this country need to hear the message that, we are eating ourselves to death, and it's not fun and it's not funny.
No.
And the truth is that it's time for people to wake up, and it's time for Americans to wake up and understand that sugar isn't everything that we are eating, and we've got to be able to limit that. And, make food our friend, not our enemy. It doesn't have to be. Food is awesome. I love to eat. I love to cook. I love to put out great meals. But there's also a big learning that I had, and that's that, look, we can eat whatever we want. Everybody should be able to eat whatever we want. Just eat a little bit of it. Don't eat that entire casserole of enchiladas. Just have a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my story, Jeff, and I'm sticking to it.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. That's the show, so I appreciate you. Everybody, that's very candid, I like it. So thank you. Right. I have some comments because the other thing I wanted to say when you said that little comment about when you were at your heaviest and you're getting that judgment from, the world. And then you're also looking at yourself and seeing your reflection, I have some questions for you.
Sure.
So I've also struggled with weight myself. I think my heaviest was probably like 240s maybe. Right. And I'm lying. So, add what you wish, but I'm going to admit to 240.
Okay.
So,
hey, if you say 240, you're 240.
Okay. Thank you. But, okay. So then, I also will say some of the hardest things to do when I was overweight was see pictures of myself at that weight, because we never have that image of ourselves when we're walking around not looking at ourselves. Never. We are never what we never, the image in our head is not the truth, right?
That's right.
It's like the 18-year-old version of ourselves. That's the one that I'm keeping. I'm not, I still have hair. I'm still gorgeous. I'm still young, and I'm still whatever I weighed at, like 170, right?
Exactly.
At high school. Yes. So, and the other thing I wanted to say was there's something about looking at yourself in a restroom mirror straight on that allows you to keep that fantasy alive. There's something about that particular mirror setup when you're like in the restroom or wherever, as long as you're straight on with a mirror with that particular bathroom lighting, you're maintaining the image. I don't know how that works. It's like this psychological trick, right? But if I
Right.
turn to the side and look at my profile, I go, oh my God, who's that?
What happened to me? What happened to me?
Exactly. Who's that guy? I'm not that big, am I?
Right.
So when I start trying to lose weight, I start doing all of this goofy crap when I come out of the bathtub, right? Or out of the shower, just to get all the different angles. Oh that is my butt. Oh my God. Right. I don't, and that helps me just accept where I am, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think everybody has to live with their own truth, right? I mean, we
Yes,
all
yes, and
look.
it's not
We all
easy,
have
not
those
easy.
moments in the bathroom where we get out of the shower and we say, "Gosh, is that really me? Is
Right.
that really me?"
Yes.
And the reality is, we have to look at that and say, "Yeah, you know what? If you're not happy with something, like, we all have the power to change it.
Yeah.
And if we screw up today, for God's sake, it's okay. If you screwed up today and ate too much, don't dwell on that. Move on. Tomorrow's a
Yes.
whole new day, and you can start all over again." But I would tell you, Jeff, I think, I don't know if it's advice, because I hate to be like, here's my piece of advice. But really, what I would tell people is the thing that I do now and that I never did before is I eat breakfast consistently. I mean,
It's a big one. That's a big one.
I have a refrigerator in my bedroom, and it is stocked with protein shakes. And within the first 30 minutes of waking up, I pop open a protein
Tim
shake.
Ferriss.
And I drink my protein shake.
Yeah.
And you know what? That helps my body to help me to burn off calories throughout the day, so that if I do eat the extra 50 calories on something, my body's helping me burn those off.
Yes.
And so I would just say, look, image, it is important, because we all want to feel good about ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, but I will tell you one other thing, and that's that I didn't love myself for a very long time, Jeff. I did not.
Right.
And in this whole process of whatever I went through, I learned that, you know what, I have to love myself. There's nobody else. There is people that will love me, but it has to start with me. If I can't love myself, then I won't let anybody else love me.
Right.
And so,
Yes.
Your image is a big thing. It's your business card. That's the first thing people see is your image.
Right.
And so, should we be judged for how we look? No, I think it's more important to judge somebody by their actions and their
Right.
character.
Right.
But unfortunately, we live in a society where we are judged somewhat on our looks.
Well, and when I think of me and I think of other people struggling, nobody wants to be 300 some pounds. Nobody
does.
And I wanted to say this again too, because my brother, again, he's struggling with weight. So he's probably 300 plus right now.
Right.
And he had some sort of heart issue that was something short of an attack, but basically he had a heart attack, and he's 3 years older than me. Okay. So his obesity is, life-threatening. Okay.
Scary.
And you know what, the doctor, I don't want to judge the doctor either, but I don't like it when they just say, okay, I want you to stop drinking alcohol, which that's possible. Okay. That's possible. It's within somebody's, personal power usually to stop drinking, at least for a while, and reduce significantly. So he was able to do that. But then the other one was lose 100 pounds. And, to just say something to like somebody that weighs 300 plus pounds, just say, lose 100 pounds. And then, with no support, okay, you're going to help me with that? Do I get a prescription? Is there a provider? Is there a doctor-led program that help me do that? No.
Sure.
No, that's all on you. I think there's something wrong with that. If this is like a no kidding health issue, why aren't there strategies that are covered by insurance? That's all.
Well, I'll tell you something, and that's a huge topic, Jeff. But
it is.
Insurances really should consider helping people with bariatric surgery. And again, do I think that everybody is a good candidate? No, I don't. I think it
doesn't always have to be that either.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be that, but I'll tell you something. I mean, if and there's lots and lots of different resources out there, which in my book, I put my phone number, I think it's in there, my email address, my website, all that good stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And it's because I care enough that, if I don't sell 1 million books, I'm okay with that.
Right.
But if I can help 10 people struggling with their weight and give them some good guidance and direction, then gosh, I feel like I made a difference. But the reality is there's a lot of resources. People just don't know about it. I'm telling you, bariatric surgery for a long time, for probably a year, people said, "How did you lose all this weight? How did you lose all this weight?"
Right.
And I never told them how I did it. I'm sure some of them figured out that, I had some help.
Right.
But there's a stigma that comes along with bariatric surgery that you took the easy way out.
Not
And
true.
No, not even
not even close.
Not even close to being true. And
It's
so I always
probably
say,
one of the more dangerous,
it is. I mean, you
difficult. You are
you could die.
committing to not eating, like a normal person the rest of your life.
Exactly. And there's iron deficiencies and
Right.
vitamin. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff. But
huge decition.
it is. But I tell people, look, go to my website. I can help you out. I can give you some good direction. I always tell people to go to there's a group that I'm a Foundation of America, WLSFA.org. And there's great resources there too. But here's the thing, right? We all have to be honest with ourselves. We have to get to a place where, if you need help, gosh darn it, find the help. Go ask for it. Because like I said, my first doctor was absolutely not willing to help me lose weight. He wanted me to do it the traditional. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's a lot of different resources.
And it might not always be surgery.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you can't get help. Like
exactly.
Have you ever heard of this app called Noom? It rhymes with vroom and vroom and Zoom. Okay, there's this app called Noom. Right. Okay, and basically it's a weight loss program, and you have to pay for it. It's not free. They have a free trial, but it is pretty damn amazing. Have you ever heard of cognitive behavioral therapy?
Right.
So it's like psychology based, but it's not like psychotherapy. It's not like Freudian. They don't care about your mother or, dreams or anything like that.
Sure.
It's just psychological tools to help you lose weight and change your mind about food. And let me tell you, let me see how I have to think back. I think I was probably 230 something when I started this.
Right.
When? I don't remember when. Some number of months ago that I don't remember. Maybe like 15, 16 weeks ago, something like that. And I got down to like I think I had lost 20 pounds-ish.
Wow, and then that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, and then I went on vacation and gained some back. But, that's okay. It really is okay.
It is.
And because of this program, I am like, basically using that therapy method to reprogram everything I think about, not just food, but like me and my moods and, and why I'm eating and why I'm drinking and, what's going on in my head. It's amazing. So
that's right.
As another resource, not to take away from anything you're doing, just as a public service announcement by Jeff.
This is a PBS special.
Yeah, there you go. Noom is out there and I find it amazing. So anyway, I thought
it's awesome. I mean, there's a lot of different resources for sure.
Right.
Like I said before, I just want to be one of the largest voices in this country about, bariatric surgery and about, anything else under the sun when it comes to health and fitness. I'm not by any means a health and fitness guru or expert, but
you've got some experience.
I got some experience. That's right. And I want to just be able to share that and help people if they're struggling with the same stuff that I struggled with.
Amen, brother. This has been a blast. So let's talk a little bit as we wrap up about where people can best get in touch with Jacob Bustos.
Awesome. Go to my website at jacobbustos.com or portionyourplate.com.
Right.
Either of those are really good resources where you can start. I like to say, follow me on Instagram or Facebook or any of the social media platforms. I do a lot of book signings, Barnes & Noble. I come to a Barnes & Noble near you sometimes. But if you go to barnesandnoble.com, you can find my book on there.
When food is your frenemy?
When food is your frenemy. Awesome. And there's also an ebook version. So if you don't like to go to the store and buy the hardcover, you can always do the ebook version.
Perfect. Jacob, this has been a blast. You've got a great laugh. So
thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for sharing your great laugh with me. I appreciate that.
I'm trying my best.
No, you're doing great. All right. So, hey, thanks for hanging out with me for about an hour, and you have a great day.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.